Hello, loves, and welcome to Venus and Retro Tarot. This is a reading for the month of October 2022, and this is also a timeless reading. So if you're watching this in the future, this also applies whenever you find it. So go ahead, and we have three piles here. Pick whichever one calls to you. Pile one, we have a Tiger's Eye heart with the Oracle card Rain, Fecundity. And I hope I'm saying that correctly. Pile two, we have a blue sodalite heart and Oracle card Lake, Depth. And last but not least, we have pile three with a clear quartz heart and Fire, Ignition. So go ahead and pause the video and pick whichever pile calls to you, and then I will see you in your reading, okay? Hello, pile one, and welcome to your reading for the month of October 2022. This is for the group that chose the Fecundity Rain Oracle card. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And the Tiger's Eye heart. So let's go ahead and get into what I was channeling with your pile while I was shuffling your Oracle cards and your tarot cards. This is actually the last pile that I'm doing, and I'm actually recording this days later from the other two piles. So like I had a really strong call from spirit to kind of hold off on this pile. And I feel like that's going to be significant in your pile. And, I'm not sure how that's going to show up, but it'll be really interesting to see. But it's what I was picking up, and I had a very specific vision while I was shuffling your cards of you, whoever you are. It was almost like I was seeing through your eyes, standing at a basin or like a sink made of selenite. And if you know the spiritual meaning or the significance of selenite, it's a crystal that is very important for cleansing and charging energy. Like you can charge pretty much anything, tarot decks, crystals, what have you. But it was a basin filled with water, and you were dipping your hands in the water and like cleansing your face in front of a mirror. And it was like each pass that you made over your face, it was like your image in the mirror disappeared until it was completely blank. And I kept hearing the words tabula rasa, which means blank slate. So I think that's really, really significant in the fact that like, it's almost like right now you're going through a transformation where it's like you're going back to the basics and really going back to like, who am I? And this theme has been coming up, for several piles, for the other piles too, but this feels very different in that it's like you are completely doing this from the inside out. And it just felt like, especially with, it's very interesting that this card came up, because fecund means fertility, ripe. This is very Empress-like energy. So it's almost like learning how to receive from yourself, and that to me feels very, it's like there's some purity in that, and not in the way of like purity culture, but it's just like, the blank slate of like, I completely deserve what's coming, to me and what I give to myself, because sometimes in our culture and within the spiritual community, there is a negative, connotation of what it means to be materialistic or to receive, in a material way. And I feel like, it's a little bit of a rewilding of that, and what it looks like to kind of receive from yourself that love and care, from like deep within yourself, like your core, and kind of undoing some of those core wounds and that core programming that you might have received from the outside. So like, it feels very, a lot like shadow work and inner child work that's going on. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at, the tarot cards and oracle cards that I have for you. So I pulled a major arcana and a court card that kind of show the energy that you're working with for the month. And then we'll get into some more tarot and oracle cards that I'll pull on camera. And at the end, just to kind of give you a rundown of what we're going to do, I'm going to pull three piles of yes or no questions. So if you think of any yes or no questions, we're going to have a segment for that at the end. So let's go ahead and look at the major theme that you are, oh no, that's this one, working with this month, and you got the Chariot in reverse. Yeah, so that's Cancerian energy. And then we have Empress energy here as well present for you with the Page of Cups. So yeah, to me, this really does speak to, going within. The Chariot is all about like harnessing your will. And in the reverse, it does feel like it's moving inward rather than there being some sort of resistance. And with the Page of Cups in the reverse as well, it just feels like it's like you're turning it on its head. And rather than trying to like channel that outward and move outward, it's like you're giving to yourself. Rather than making moves outward in the 3D material world. It's like you're planting seeds within yourself and really getting back to like, what are the things that, make me feel safe, make me feel comforted, make my inner child feel safe. And you might have gone through periods where, you didn't have that feeling of safety. The Chariot is ruled by Cancer, which is, the crab. And if we think of that hard shell on the outside, that we can kind of harden to protect that soft interior. And it's almost like, giving yourself more to soften and be able to receive and feel comfortable in that and more deserving to receive from yourself. And then it ripples outward. So let's go ahead and look at your oracle cards and see what else we have for you. All right, so we have the Hungry Ghosts, okay, and that's obsession, scarcity consciousness, and attachment. So yeah, maybe it's like you're letting go of some of those stories that may have repeated in your head of like how you might not be enough or have enough, or the attachments that you might have had to certain things. And no tea, no shade if there were any, we don't do shame here. Any attachments to certain behaviors or substances, or mindsets that kept you kind of separated, from your inner child or from parts of yourself that really need tending, that this is kind of a time of rewilding that and planting, more fertile seeds and kind of cleansing, because that's what rain does as well. It washes away, the impurities that are, in the earth, so like, if you're looking at a dirty sidewalk and then like the rain comes, it's kind of washing that away. So this is like a period of that for you. Like what kind of like obsessive mindsets are being cleansed and washed away? What ways that you have, lived in, a scarcity and fearful mindset. And that's not to say that, those things aren't real and true. But that it's kind of affected the way that you move through the world when you're not necessarily unsafe. When we feel traumatized and we're living from that place of trauma, everything can look unsafe and make us fearful. And that's totally okay. But it's kind of like forming attachments to a more, an attitude where I am safe, to be myself. I am safe to receive, that, I will have what I need, and it will reflect more of what is actually going on in your reality rather than necessarily what happened in the past, if that makes sense. Like if that isn't real for you anymore. So yeah, and here you go, higher perspective. And see, this card really reminds me of, Sagittarius is the higher mind, as well as this Hungry Ghost card, because it's number 14. And that also is the card Temperance in the Major Arcana, which is ruled by Sagittarius. So really it is, about kind of zooming out and seeing things from a higher perspective, where sometimes when we are living in our trauma brain, like our lizard brain that is attuned to what's going to keep me safe, what's going to, how am I going to survive? We can be very, tuned to the subtleties and the small things, looking for danger. And to me, this really says, that it's kind of a, flipping that on its head, and you're considering the ways that maybe you don't have to, be on the lookout and be so hyper vigilant anymore. Or that there are times where, you might be able to let some of that go. Like it's a process and nothing happens overnight. But yeah, and this came out in the reverse, Fate. in the reverse. And I feel like this is significant that it came out upside down, that maybe you felt like in the past that it was your fate to kind of live in this place where you didn't have enough, and with this, kind of Empress energy, fertility period that's, showing up for you right now. It's like, this was not fated for me. I wasn't destined to live a life that, makes me feel unsafe and insecure, is something that's really coming through. Where it's like you might have felt like, I deserve this. And, if that is you, because that is coming through really strongly, that this is a message that, it's not your fault. Whatever it is that you might have suffered in the past, whatever, has made you feel like you're not enough or that you didn't have enough. Like it wasn't the universe punishing you. And, it's kind of like a reconsideration and like telling yourself a new story, or, understanding yourself in a new way, where it's like you're coming into like a new phase of your life where like, fate is kind of like throwing you, the wheel of fortune is turning in your favor, and that you're understanding that, when the wheel turns, and it's, sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, that when you're down, like sometimes, frankly, shit happens, and that's not a negative reflection on you. And I really feel like some of you that are watching this pile, that you really need to hear that like, it's not a moral failing times when you're not doing well, or like if you're disabled, that your disability is not a moral failing. And a lot of times we receive those messages from the patriarchal society, from the ableist society that we live in, that is all about hustle culture, about like your value is about what you can do for others, the ways that you exist to be used, that I really see this as being a new understanding of that, of how your intrinsic value doesn't rely on anything like that. That, if you're not doing well, or as good as somebody else, it's not because they, have some kind of like special karma that they deserve more than you. It's like you're recognizing where some people have certain privileges that are unearned. And that doesn't say anything, that about them that makes them better. And that doesn't say anything about you that makes you worse. Some things like are structural that really need to be rooted, uprooted and changed from the inside out. So it's like, letting go of the attachment to maybe, the understanding of like, I'm not good enough because I don't have this, like that is not a reflection of you as a person, or, as a, reflection of the divine. Like it is not you. So I feel like somebody really needed to hear that. And here we have balsamic moon, things come and go. Okay. Yes. Like, just like I was talking about with the wheel of fortune, things come and go, surrender to the universe. That sometimes it is really about surrendering to the universe, that, there can be things that seem like, they're unfair, or that like, why did this happen this way? And that's not me saying that things, bad things happen for a reason, but it's like surrendering the outcome, because at the end of the day, I truly believe that things, they work out in a certain way to set us on a path, or at least at the very least teach us lessons that we wouldn't have learned in, if we hadn't lived that out. It's part of our karma, and not in a way it's like you earned this, but it's like karma as in this is our life path. And, there are lessons that come with it that sometimes we pass along that wisdom to others, because trust me, I've had some things that have happened to me where I'm just like, I must have been a horrible person in my past life. Like I found myself saying that, like even before I, had my spiritual awakening, I used to say that, like, I must have been like, a murderer, some kind of horrible, shitty person to deserve some of the things that I've been through. And I really had to like learn and let go of some of those things. So like, trust me, I'm not just like preaching to you as someone who hasn't been there. I have been there, and I have had to really like offer some of that stuff up. And, Spirit is still working on me, because I really, I'm still on that path. And you also got new moon in Gemini. Think it through. So yeah, like with the obsessions, the attachment, you know, and it's funny because I said something about Sagittarius, and this is a Gemini card. Gemini and Sagittarius are, you know, opposite polarities on the zodiacal wheel, where Gemini is the lower mind, where I was talking about how you might be kind of zooming in and looking at things very closely. And Sagittarius is all about seeing things from a higher, more global perspective. And Gemini is coming through to say, think it through. But it's like, maybe thinking it through in that, like processing some of those, you know, local kind of, you know, smaller experiences and looking at them and placing them in the story, you know, in your collective story over, you know, the course of your life, if that makes sense. That's something that's coming through. And here we got another reversal, you know, and this says stimulation. And this card is ruled by Aries. And yeah, like, I'm going to take this in reverse as well, because I feel like this came out in reverse for a reason. So it's like maybe learning how to kind of regulate is something that's coming through when you're really activated, you know, and kind of work on or, you know, understand your story in a new way when you're really, really activated and, you know, stuck in that trauma, or, you know, that like your brain is kind of in that lizard brain mode where it's like you're learning some new perspective that can kind of bring you back to center, you know, so that you can kind of surrender to those cycles, that's coming through really strongly. So that's a really big, you know, invitation for you. And that's a lot of medicine. And really it is going to deal with, you know, a lot of surrender. This doesn't feel like anything where this month it's going to be any like outward work or, you know, things that you're going to be doing in as part of your daily routine. This feels more like, you know, if you know the difference between the major and the minor arcana, this is more like a major arcana type reading. Like this is kind of the universe kind of working on you and sending you messages and, you know, giving you that perspective, but not necessarily anything that you have to consciously work on, if that makes sense. It's more just being present for it and being open to receive it. So really pay attention to the times that you feel resistant or that you feel overstimulated, overactivated. You know, I get that way too because I'm autistic and, you know, I can get into meltdown mode when I'm like in sensory overload. So that's something that's coming through. If you're anywhere on the neurodivergent spectrum, you know, if you have any of those neurodivergent kind of diagnoses, like look for, and even if you don't, look for the ways that like you're being overstimulated sensory wise, and what ways can you calm your nervous system? Because this seems like, you know, a lot of activation in your nervous system, pile one. So let's go ahead and look at your tarot cards. I already pre-shuffled, so I just want to go ahead and see what comes out for you. Let's see. What messages do we have for pile one? What messages do we have for pile one? And if this resonates, definitely, you know, drop me a comment and let me know, especially with, you know, this hungry ghosts and with fate, you know, if there is a way where you felt like, you know, fate made you feel like, you know, you were, you know, deserving of things that were, you know, the negative things that happened to you, because I've been there, and sometimes sharing our stories can be helpful. I mean, like, don't share more than you feel comfortable with, but like, I feel like sometimes when we share those things with each other, we feel a lot less alone. And we got Divine Wisdom, and this is a bonus card here. So in the reverse, and Page of Pentacles. But you know what? I don't like to read this card in the reverse. I feel like upright or reversed, it carries the same meaning. So I'm going to go ahead and put that upright, and let's see what else comes out for you. For you. Let's see what's on the back of the deck. Six of Swords. Okay, so yeah, that is a time of transition where it's really like, you know, an initiation and, you know, moving from, you know, one phase of our life to the next, or like moving from really choppy, rough waters into a place where, you know, we're truly being guided by spirit or guided by, you know, a helper. And that could be, you know, somebody that's in your life, you know, a therapist, a trusted friend. You know, not everybody I know has the resources to be able to go to therapy, but this could be community. It could be anything, you know, that's helping you to kind of, you know, and swords are the mind of like, you know, reframing or thinking about things differently or processing really. But I see that on the back of the deck with the Six of Swords. Let's see what other cards we have for you. Oh, look at this. Another bonus card, Moonchild. And you have the Chariot here. Moonchild, you know, Cancer is ruled by the moon with the Chariot, and you have Moonchild. So this is really working with the cycles of the moon. You might, you know, really feel called to that, or that might be something that spirit is asking you to do. And Justice and the King of Swords. Okay, so yeah, all your cards are upright. So this is really moving in a positive direction. That's why I felt like these two coming out in the reverse, the Chariot and the Page of Cups, that it wasn't like a sign of resistance, because sometimes that can mean that the energy isn't flowing to me when it comes out in the reverse, but it's more like it's an inward, you know, process where it's like you're not going to see the fruits of it on the outside necessarily. I mean, you will eventually, but it's like you're going to feel totally different on the inside. That this is like, you know, a new kind of growth that's happening, you know, on the inside. It's like an excavation, you know, and a washing away really that's coming from deep within you, like deep within your core. So that's really, really amazing. So like, let me just take a second and see what it is that I'm picking up here. You're definitely receiving a lot of like divine guidance at this time, especially with this divine wisdom and Moonchild. You know, and be really attuned to the phases of the moon. And what's coming through for you. If you track the transits of the moon, look at what houses that these are happening in. And this reminds me of like how when we get into Scorpio season, we're going to have some eclipses going on. Eclipse season is upon us. So that's going to be really important for you, especially with all this lunar energy coming up, that there's going to be some big inner transformations. And, you know, with the nodes are points of fate. So there might be some things where it's like fate and destiny are at play, and really that's why, you know, you really don't have to do anything. It's like the universe is working for you at this time, and really it's all about surrender. You know, that's all you have to do is just let the process happen, and not be in resistance, to just let the universe do its thing, let your guides do their thing, and maybe you know, say some mantras, or, you know, give subtle affirmations for something to yourself and to your guides to say, like, I am open to you working your will in my highest and best good, you know, so that you know, are kind of giving that energy to the universe of like that permission that, you know, it can work in ways that really help you, you know, work towards your highest and best. So that's something that's definitely coming through. Because like the next steps here for you is the Page of Pentacles. And that's really just taking it one day at a time and being rooted. So just staying grounded in the present. So if there are ways that like, you know, you feel untethered, or like you can't really stay in the present moment. And sometimes, you know, when we're going through big things, you know, especially with this hungry ghosts, and there's a lot of energy that feels like, for me, that, you know, you can be overstimulated at times, or it feels like you can't really get a handle on yourself. That really your job is just to find ways to come back to your center. And you know what? I'm gonna keep the Six of Swords out, because I feel like that to me is significant for you, that it showed up on the back of the deck of like, you know, seeking support. You know, because that is the Six of Swords. You know, swords are not only about the mind, but about communication. And, you know, any six is related to the lovers, which means, you know, speaking to somebody that you trust, you know, and, you know, so being able to really reach out and say, like, this is how I'm feeling, or I need somebody to kind of help me, to stay grounded, or, somebody to kind of, be with me through some of these difficult moments. If you're feeling untethered, that it's okay to reach out with the Six of Swords and ask for help in, whatever community, whatever resources that you have available to you. Yeah, that's important. And especially, with the Justice card, like, this is Libra. We're starting out in Libra season in October as well, but that's all about, channeling, using your voice too. Yeah, and that is a resource for you because this is in your strengths and resources. So it's very important for you to use your voice and ask for what you need, because the universe is more than willing to provide for you and, the people that you're in community with. As long as they're safe people, is what I'm hearing, that they will, they're more than willing to provide for you as well and to be there for you. Because at the end of the month, you're showing up as the King of Swords. And that is somebody who, is able to think really clearly, who doesn't feel, like they're kind of being swept away in their thoughts. The way that it seems like you might be starting off the beginning of the month, like you're coming into that process. And there might still be at the end of the month moments where it's like you don't quite have that footing, and that's okay. That's where we come back to that divine wisdom of reaching out to our guides, of rooting, and dropping down into our feelings as well with this moon child, because the moon is all about, our inner life, our internal, and our feelings, what it is that, makes us feel safe as well. So dropping down into what it is that you're feeling and being able to accurately identify that too. Because it's like, if we're feeling fear, like where is this coming from? Kind of like being able to ask yourself, especially with this Justice and King of Swords, this, because Justice is an air card, to be able to ask yourself those questions too, like, where is this stemming from? Yeah, that is very important, because sometimes, is it intuition or is it anxiety? And sometimes, our anxiety can speak to us in ways that kind of frighten us, that really make us feel like, we're in that space of fear, that we're overstimulated. Like, we want to be in a place where, Justice is all about alignment. Libra is the sign of the scales, where, we are not under or overstimulated, because sometimes being understimulated, we can go out with this hungry ghost. That's something that's coming through too, and seek stimulation in ways that may not be serving us in, in our highest and best, and that as well, that's coming through. But no shame here, that all of us have been through something like that in one way or another. And there are different degrees, different levels to it, for all of us, but no one is immune or exempt from that. So there's no reason to feel any kind of like that double energy of feeling like ashamed of yourself if like you slip up, because we all fuck up, or, feel like you made a mistake. And it's like, then you're shitting all over yourself. And, then it's like, what is that doing for you? That's something that's really coming through. So, seeking really balanced stimulation is really important. So that, that's what the month is looking like for you. So let's go ahead and pull some more oracle cards and see what else is coming through for pile one. Let's see, pile one. What other messages do we have for pile one? Oh, okay. There we go. Inner temple, devotion, tune into the portal of your heart. Yes. Okay. So really take time to really tune into your heart. Do some heart chakra work. If there are any like meditations or frequencies, you don't necessarily have to meditate. You can put on some kind of healing music, or, the color green could be really important. We have some green here, green in your oracle card that was for your pile. yeah, and that corresponds with the heart chakra, but tuning into your heart and, being devoted to yourself, like your inner temple. But yeah, that really speaks to like almost like self worship. Like in the past, if you've ever made, a ritual of really like flogging yourself and, shaming yourself, that this is kind of turning that onto its head and making a devotional practice of like self worship. And that can be really, really hard and really triggering if you're not used to it. And, take it slow, and make sure that you're leaning on support. But that's something that's really, really coming through, is like almost like self worship, like pouring praise over yourself, almost like things that you would never think that you would say, but that you would praise a friend, treating yourself that way, giving to yourself the things that you would give to like a best friend, is the way that you need to shower your inner child, and treat yourself, your inner life as like a temple. And that you're nourishing, that you're praying to yourself, like your own inner goddess, your own inner divine, your own inner priestess is really, really important for you right now. Okay, let's see what else is coming through. What else do we have for pile one? Okay, what messages do we have for pile one? Oh, okay. And trust. Faith in the power of the universe. Yes, so surrender and faith in the power of the universe. And I can see where, that can be really, really, difficult, but learning how to trust in the universe when it feels like, you've been dealt some really bad hands in life, like that can be a process in itself of like learning how to, trust that the universe is working in your favor, and that even if you haven't seen it yet, that working on yourself kind of will, in the meantime, kind of really is a manifestation in itself, that you will start to see, kind of signs of that on the outside, that really the universe can work through us when we trust in that and really trust in ourselves as well. That we can start to view things in a different way. And that's not even saying that like in a way that's bypassing, but it's just like almost a different perspective on things, without glossing over reality or like gaslighting yourself into thinking that, things that, really were unfair to you, that, I really want to stress that point, because like, I don't do hippy dippy, like, law of attraction stuff, like if things are bad, like that you deserve it, but more like, trusting that like good things are in store for you, and kind of that flipping your perspective, and you do see the good, like you're more able to recognize the small things, like the small victories in your day where you may not notice them, if that makes sense. So let's see what else is coming through for you, pile one. So I really hope that makes sense, because I've been there before where like someone asked me to do gratitude statements, and in my head I was like, fuck all the way off with that, and yeah. So I can understand like if you come from a place where it's like, no, like what do I have to be grateful for? Like I truly understand that, like, and I'm not telling you to like completely forget the things that like have been totally unfair. So I just want to clarify that. And look, I keep my own counsel. Again, that's like, keeping inner counsel, going within and seeing like how you feel about a situation, what you think, and trusting yourself, your judgment, with this Gemini, think it through. Yeah, and I am humble. But humility, I think sometimes like we can think of humility as having a low opinion of ourselves, but it's just kind of like what I was getting earlier, like thinking of ourselves as no better or no worse than anyone else, like just seeing ourselves as like, equal, like the things that happen to us that are good in our lives, like almost like taking ourselves out of the equation of like, what we are deserving of, like based on what has happened to us, like that humility of like, like I'm no better or worse than anyone else. So I'll just leave it at that, because it's not really coming through clearly, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. Yeah, but just approaching every situation with humility, and really, processing maybe your past with a sense of humility, and going easy on yourself, because sometimes, you know, a lack of humility can really be not necessarily that like I'm better than somebody, but like, you know, if we're not humble and we think about like the universe is singling me out, you know, like this isn't to like shit on anybody. It's more so like what makes you think that like the universe is like like out of everyone that exists, like has it out for you, if that makes sense. And that's more like a tough love message, but not in a way that's like, you know, it's just like it feels like sometimes that perspective is helpful, you know, where I've had to give myself that tough talk before, like, come on, Brandi, like, you know, out of everybody in the world, like, you know, the universe doesn't have time to single you out and like fuck up your life. So all right, let's see. And here we go. What makes you feel truly alive? Yeah. And like what lights you up? If you find something that lights you up at this time, you know, seek that positive stimulation. Aries, you know, that's our inner fire. That's our Mars energy. What can you do that lights you up, that makes you feel good in a way that replenishes you? Seems like a really important thing for you to consider right now, pile one. Let's see what other messages do we have for pile one. Okay. Oh. Okay. Yeah. Become aware of all of your feelings in this moment, both physical and emotional. Yeah. So that's really, you know, just like this Page of Pentacles that I was saying, like rooting and grounding. And this is similar too. So I'm going to keep it. In this moment, what are 5 things you can see? 4 you can touch, 3 you can hear, 2 you can smell, 1 you can taste. Getting in touch with your senses. And really bringing that into your everyday. And Pentacles are earth energy. So that's all that you can experience right here in the 3D. What grounds you and what makes you feel good, what brings you into the present moment. Mindfulness is something that's really, really important theme that's coming up for you, pile one. Let's see, some messages of personal power. It's coming through for pile one. Okay. Look, I am a healer. So this is, you know, you have the power to heal yourself. And, you know, this can ripple outward with the 6 of Swords and heal other people. Because I feel like, especially with this higher perspective, you know, and fate at work, all of this, like, it's almost like an understanding too, with this divine wisdom card, that we're all connected, you know, and healing yourself, you know, really does do something for the greater whole, the universal whole. So that's something that, you know, really think about that. But especially, you know, if you're thinking also about the future and your path, that might be something, especially with this moon child and divine wisdom coming up. It's like, you know, you have more wisdom than you think you do. In the ways that like you can use that to be a healing force as well. Like you might be like a Reiki practitioner, you might be a tarot reader, you might be, you know, some sort in the helping professions in some way, form or fashion. You know, so if that's something that you're kind of questioning, like what's my path? That might be something that, yeah. Okay. And there we go again with surrender. I surrender. So that's very important for you. And also, I'm good enough. So yeah, any messages that have made you feel like, you know, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve good things in my life, or I, you know, not deserving of nice things or to treat myself, you know, any messages like that, that's confirmation that you are good enough to receive, and to receive from yourself as well, and to pour into yourself, that you deserve that. So let's get some chakra energy as well. What chakra advice do we have for pile one? By far, you guys have gotten the most cards, I think, too. Communication. Again, Gemini energy coming up, Libra energy, King of Swords. I kind of read this like as all the air signs, but definitely Aquarius energy, communication. So really using your voice, not holding things in if there's something that you need to let out. something that's coming through right now, like that I really like am feeling strongly too with this communication, primal scream therapy. Like, have you ever tried just like screaming at the top of your lungs and like really letting that energy out? Like if it's, with the stimulation card too, it's like, letting that energy out of your body, but like surrendering, almost letting that out to the universe with all this, swords energy. So yeah, that can be really healing. Let's take on here. And expression. Okay, so like you can't make it up. So yeah, what kinds of expression? And I feel like that expression really needs to be like, especially with this Page of Pentacles, I'm getting like primitive. Like you don't need to think about it. It really needs to come from deep within yourself. Like, that part of ourselves that, is so primal, is like, that lizard brain, that, that part of us that like our conscious mind goes offline, and is very, very wild. Definitely a rewilding of yourself and like really cleansing yourself by letting it out, getting it out, purging is something I'm hearing really loudly. Yeah. What makes you feel truly alive? It's like, almost like it's like releasing energy so that like something else can fill it up, releasing that, negatively charged energy so that like that really, vibrant energy can work through you and almost like create a loop where it's like, continually like filling you up. So that's coming through really strongly. Communication is key. So what ways can you like move that through your voice, like through your throat chakra, your heart chakra? That's coming through a lot, like with the green. You have a lot of purple here too. So like connecting some of those upper chakras, like your third eye, your heart, and your throat. Those three really want to be activated and almost like work in sync for you right now. Very, very cool. Very cool, pile one. Okay, so now to wrap this up, I'm going to do 3 piles for yes or no questions. So you can go ahead, you can, think of one pile that you want to pick, or you can pause the video and think of, a separate yes or no question for all 3 piles. But I'm going to go ahead and pull 1 oracle card and 1 tarot card for each one. Okay. All right, so this is pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. Okay. And let me get a tarot card for each pile as well. Spirit pile, yes or no? All right, and we have pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. So pause if you need to, but I'm going to go ahead and flip them over and read them. So here we go. We have pile 1. Says pick the following card. Okay, so I'm going to draw another one right off the top. And we have Nope, which is funny because I just watched that movie and it's amazing. Okay, and we have the Queen of Pentacles. So this is a definite no. And I feel like because it will do something that kind of robs you of some of that comfort that you're looking for, insecurity that you're looking for, whatever it is that you're asking about, if you're seeking safety, it's kind of going to put you back in that kind of scarcity consciousness, or, it's going to make you feel unsafe, or it might be unsafe. So that's a no from Spirit. Okay, now pile 2, got Go Deeper and the Empress. Okay, so, and Queen of Pentacles is very Empress-like energy too, but the Empress is all about, so Go Deeper could be a maybe. And the Empress to me kind of is asking, is this something that is valuable to you? Or like, yeah, it's like, is it truly valuable to you? Is it worth it? And really to consider that you might, you might be shortchanging yourself as well with this, with the Empress, because the Empress is like, an energy that feels like, they're not settling for less. They deserve everything that they're asking for. So this Go Deeper card may be like a sign from spirit, like to think bigger, you know, that you may not be asking for enough, honestly. And pile 3 is your magic is potent. So I would say that's a yes. And the 10 of Wands. So the 10 of Wands can be, it's all about carrying burdens, or carrying something really heavy and kind of reaching your destination. So if you're asking about that, it's saying yes. And I'm getting the message of like, you're strong enough, if that's something that you're concerned with. Or the flip side, if there is something that it's like you're asking to release, it's like it's not yours to carry, and that you can put it down. So there's 2 different messages in there. Take what applies, because this is a general reading, but that you can trust your own magic, that it's potent enough for you to do whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish and see it to fruition. Or your magic is potent enough to like, let go and, let whoever else do what they need to do for themselves, and be like, I don't need to concern myself with that. So, okay, pile 1, that's all I'm seeing for your reading. Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope these messages brought you clarity and strength. If you'd like to see more of my videos, please consider subscribing to my channel, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if the messages resonated, and drop me a comment if you'd like. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you, and I will see you in the next video, okay? Bye, pile 1. Hello, pile 2, and welcome to your reading for the month of October 2022. This is for the group that picked the Depth Lake Oracle card and the Blue Sodalite heart. So let's go ahead and just get into what I was channeling when I was shuffling your cards. Intuitively, I had the feeling, excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. I had the feeling, especially with this lake imagery, it gives me the feeling of the Moon card, of like feeling like there's something that you can't quite get a grasp of, like you can't put your finger on it. It's like something, and you know that but it's like you don't know what it is yet, if that makes sense. So it's like your intuition is really trying to communicate with you, and it's coming from deep within. And it's also definitely what I was getting from it is that like the collective guides are really trying to guide you at this time and bring some things to the surface. But yeah, it's like there's just this kind of searching, like, for answers to questions, but it's like almost like I don't know quite what the questions are either, but intuitively it's like you have an understanding, and you're kind of trying to get to that place where, you're surfacing all of these feelings, and purging, and almost like, bringing things up, possibly, from the past that might have been buried from a long time ago. And this makes sense because as I'm recording this, we are going through Mercury retrograde in Libra, and Libra is the sign of, partnerships and relationships. And, Mercury is our communication and our mind. And, you might be going over things that, like miscommunications in relationships or partnerships, or even, in just your day-to-day one-to-one contacts. And we're also going through the pre-shadow period of the Mars retrograde in Gemini, and Gemini is another sign that deals with communication. So, Mars is that aggressive action. So it's like there's a lot that's coming up with that, like Mercury, Mars, Venus energy of like connection and passion, and, around your everyday life in, trying to navigate like where you're going, and kind of almost bringing things up in order to close out some sort of cycle so that you can move into a new cycle of your life with a more solid foundation is something that I'm really, really feeling. And I have some oracle cards for you, and we're going to go ahead and put those on the table, and then we're going to shuffle some tarot, put that out, and pull some additional oracle cards. And then at the end of your reading, we will have 3 piles for yes, no questions. So if you have any pressing questions that are on your mind for this time, you can, choose a pile and have some more direct yes or no. So let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm going to go ahead and put this to the side. Let's look at your oracle cards. So the first cards that I have for you are the major theme for the month, and then also how you are showing up. So let's go ahead and pull that. Okay, and just like I was saying about like some cycle closing out, okay, we have the world in reverse. And the world is the last card in the major arcana. And being in the reverse, it's almost, just like that Mercury retrograde energy that I was picking up, or it's like double checking your work before you can kind of cross that finish line of closing out some sort of cycle so that you can kind of go within the womb and be reborn like the fool again into a new cycle. So that is pretty major. I'm going to go ahead and move that up there so I can make sure to get all the cards in the frame. And this is really deep work. It's, underworld work. Really going within and trying to figure out like, who am I within the macrocosm of, the world, in my community, in, my relationships, in my family, chosen family, in, my relationship. If you have a significant other, if you're a parent, your relationship to your children as a parent, if you're a creator of any kind, what's my relationship to my art? What's my relationship to my spirituality? Because the world can deal with cycles, and it literally is the world itself as well. So, it's like we are part of the whole, and we are also part of, these microcosms of the different communities that we are a part of. And it's like, trying to figure out, where is my place? Because, with this in the reverse, it's like, we're not quite ready to reach that finish line and cross that threshold yet. There are some things that still need to be worked and it's like reworked and kind of understood in a different way. Okay, that's it. Yeah, especially with this depth lake and that moon energy, it's like almost a shift in perspective too, of like, you have all of this wisdom, all of this new knowledge, but it's like with this world card, I'm almost seeing like hanged man energy of like seeing things from a new perspective, considering all that you have learned and all of the things that you're integrating right now. So let's see. Yeah, and the Knight of Pentacles, this is earth energy of like, taking things one step at a time, building on, the foundation that you set of moving, gradually into what is eventually going to be the future that you want to create for yourself, but it all comes from an understanding of, who you are at a soul level, and almost like, why am I here? Is something that I'm hearing. And like, what is the greater meaning for why I am here at this time? Because we really are here at a time, like the place that we're in, if you think about it astrologically, with Pluto and Capricorn, Neptune and Pisces, these outer planets, what they're doing, and Uranus and Mars and the North Node recently just came together. Like that is a once in a lifetime transit that happened in Taurus. The last time that happened was in the 1800s. Like these things that we're experiencing are a big deal. If you're in the United States, like we're going through the Pluto return of the United States, which is the first one that we've ever had. And it only happens, a Pluto return only happens every 250 years about. And even if you don't live in the US, we are a global community, just like with the world. And what happens here, for better or for worse, does ripple out into the world. So it's like a really, a deeper understanding of the ways that like what we do on an individual level doesn't just affect us. It affects, other people. It, it affects the environment. It affects the collective, conscious and unconscious. So, that's a really big, invitation for you this month. Let me go ahead, that again. And let's see what your other oracle cards have to say. So, okay, you got the High Lord of Gratitude and Service, and this is very Saturnian for me. The world is ruled by Saturn, so it's all about selflessness, humility, conscious action. And with the Knight of Pentacles, it's like moving through the world. How do I want to serve? What is my greater role in the ways that I serve the collective, and not just for you. This is selfless, and in a humble way. And it's not saying that necessarily, in the past that you've done things selfishly, but it's just like thinking of things in a new way of like, things benefit me, but how can that benefit ripple outward in a way that really raises the, vibration of the world? And I don't really subscribe to like anyone being low or high vibrational, because I feel like that can be a little ableist, but more what I'm talking about is like raising the vibration of the world in that, like, what are the highest outcomes that we can look for that benefit everyone, and being really conscious and present and mindful in those choices. So that's like a really big invitation for you, pile 2. Let's see what else we have here. The Magi. And that's magician energy, mercurial energy. And, that really says that like you have the tools that you need. And maybe it's like with this depth energy, you're really coming to an understanding of the way that you can use your tools, and maybe that's the question that's kind of coming up, bubbling up from the subconscious for you, is like, what specifically is my role? Because everybody's role, in the collective looks different, right? We all have, gifts and abilities and ways that we shine, and, that are unique to us. So this really is, taking and owning your power, and channeling that. It's active energy. So it's not just, recognizing and, absorbing that and, in a, intuitive high priestess, way where you're receiving from the universe. Like magician energy is active energy. It's channeling that outward. So the Knight of Pentacles is like, taking things one step at a time. Like, how can I, in my day-to-day routine, or, from day to day, like what small actions can I take that ripple outward that, make a difference to people around me? And for these oracle cards, let's see, you got 2. So you got lunar eclipse, open the door to a higher dimension. See, and this to me says, yeah, you have helpers in the subtle realms, and in the higher realms that really want to help you to fulfill this purpose. It's not meant for you to do alone. So if this world energy in reverse is making you feel a little bit overwhelmed, just know that, you can call on your guides, you can call on your ancestors, you can call on, gods, goddesses, whatever it is that you believe, to help you open that door, because they can't step in if you don't ask. That's one thing that's coming through really strongly. And they're reminding you with this Magi energy that you have the tools and they can help you, to empower you to use them in a way that is effective, that makes you feel empowered as well. So that's very important, especially with that imagery that was coming through with that lake card of feeling, like you're submerged, you're underwater. Maybe you feel like you're drowning a little bit, or, I got the feeling in my body of someone who felt a little bit like their chest was heavy and struggling to breathe, underwater, feeling like they're, reaching for the surface. And this here really does say, with that open the door to a higher dimension, like you don't have to do it on your own. You have support. And look at that coven, power of sisterhood. So this could be, your coven of like helpers in the subtle realms, as well as your groups, your affiliations, whatever way that you look at this, what ways can I, reach out for help in my day-to-day, like who are my supports? You have them there. And that is a unique place of power for you, So, make sure that you are reaching out. You're not isolating yourself. It can definitely feel easy to do that right now because, the energy is so frenetic. Like I've felt that static electricity feeling in the air. And I'm sure like if you pick this pile, you know what I'm talking about. Like it feels very, the air feels very charged. It can feel like people are kind of on, high alert, and you don't know necessarily if, you ask someone something, if it's going to be well received. But this, coven, especially with the Magi, like, and with the High Lord of Gratitude and Service, this isn't just you. This is other people in your orbit, that they should be approaching you too at this time with a level of selflessness, humility, being able to take that conscious action, just like with the Magi energy, that like if you're putting that energy out, you will receive it as well. Like that reciprocity is there for you. So you don't necessarily have to feel like you're being a burden or that you are, bothering someone, that support is there for you. So that's just confirmation for you if you've been feeling a little bit anxious, or, that you need to kind of stay solitary to yourself, or, that you don't want to bother people. I know I get that way sometimes, and usually it's just me feeling that way. And when I reach out for help, I'm really relieved. And, the people that I ask for help, my friends, my family, they're like, oh, you didn't need to stress about that. Like you could have asked me a long time ago. So, just be mindful of that, to kind of give yourself a break, is something that I'm hearing. Like, don't try to take on, the world by yourself, to, take things gradually, slowly, and lean on support this month. So let's see what else you have. First quarter moon in Scorpio. Yeah, release your blocks. Yeah, so that's what I was feeling with this world in reverse, like some blockages there of like maybe you feel like, you can't definitely like reach out for support. Scorpio, like I'm not shitting on Scorpio. I love Scorpios and I have a lot of Scorpio energy in my chart. Like sometimes they can feel so deeply, that they feel like they can't really express things in a way that people can understand, and that can sometimes keep them stuck. Scorpio is a fixed sign, stuck in how they feel and kind of isolated. So that's something that like I'm really getting from this card with Scorpio energy. Definitely that's coming through, is like release those blockages that make you feel like, I can't ask for help, or I have to kind of, suck it up and do things on my own. Definitely getting that feeling with this group. And that's not shaming you. Trust me. We've all been there. You're not alone in that. But this is just saying that like, this is a time where, especially if you're looking at the imagery in this card, she's doing yoga. She's in tree pose of like, what ways can you kind of release that tension from your body? That causes those blockages, blockages in your throat chakra. That's something that I'm getting, especially with this magician energy and coven, because I'm really, I feel that Gemini sort of energy, where it's all about communication. And it could be that there's some really deep things that you feel like you have to say. And it's like, well, people get it. That's coming through. That may not be for everybody, but that's definitely a message for someone. That like, if there's something that you're processing that's really, really heavy on your heart, and it feels like, it's getting blocked in your throat chakra, like it, it comes up and it feels like it just gets stuck there, and the thoughts are there. But it's like when you go to, let it out, it's like you just can't quite make the words come. There might be some work or some meditation that you need to do around your throat chakra, and also around your root. Really feeling energy, like blockages around the root chakra, because the root really has to do with our stability, our security, our need to feel safe in the world. And if you're not feeling that sense of safety, it can be really hard, to let people in and, not feel like you're being blocked by the universe, or people are icing you out. It's something that's coming through. And it's like that might not necessarily be the truth. It might just feel that way. And that's not to say that like you're delusional or you're making things, up out of nowhere. This could be things that are coming up that you're purging from the past. That's something that's definitely coming through. Like where when you've tried to express yourself, you were made to feel wrong or bad, and now that's something that's really, difficult. But it's like that's something that is coming up from the depths as well, so that you can release those blockages right now. And that Mars retrograde might be something, especially with this Mercury retrograde that is going on, at this time. This reading is timeless. So even if you're not watching this in October, this message is good for whenever you hear it. That's when it applies. But, this retrograde energy in, Mercury ruled signs, and, the planet Mercury itself being retrograde really speaks to giving you an opportunity to slow down and go within. Retrograde is, a good keyword for that is, any word with like reflect, release, review, all of those things, so that depth card really makes sense, where, those depths are, you would be plumbing that to kind of bring that up and release it so that you can feel lighter, where you can kind of level that up, so that is definitely, because there it is, tranquility, so that you can feel more at peace with yourself, at peace with your story. There's something about acceptance of your journey that's really coming through right now. That's like, releasing some shame. And shame is like a big theme right now with, Pluto going through Capricorn, and Capricorn is, ruled by Saturn. Saturn, is really hard lessons. It's the sign that deals with karma, and karma, there are misconceptions about what karma means. Like, karma doesn't mean necessarily, that you reap what you sow. It's just, what happens to you, on your journey. It's, your karma is what you're living out, like just what other people live out, and sometimes people are a lesson in that, what you encounter, and the people that come across your path, they teach you things about yourself, and they teach you valuable lessons that you can take with you. And sometimes those lessons are painful, and that doesn't mean that you deserve it. And some of those lessons can be very beautiful. It's not all rooted in pain. But it's like at this time, you're really coming to a place where, you can be more at peace and communicate, from a place where you are, more at peace with yourself and at peace with, your journey, on a holistic level. This card is Pisces energy, and it's the element of air. So it's like, Pisces is ruled by Neptune, the higher octave of Venus, so it's unconditional love. And what I see is like unconditional love for yourself, and really learning to let go of some of that subconscious programming that you might have learned when you were younger. So, that's a really big invitation for you, pile 2, for the month of October. And this doesn't feel like something where it's like a one and done for October. This feels like, something that you have been working on for a while, and that it's like, really kicking up at this time because of these retrogrades. So let's go ahead, let's get some tarot. Let's see, what messages do we have for pile 2? What tarot messages do we have for pile 2? That's a lot. Let's see what we got here. All right. Just center these. We got the Page of Wands in reverse, the Two of Cups, Nine of Wands in reverse, the Empress, and the Chariot in reverse. Okay. So let's see what I'm picking up here. Yeah. You're learning how to be a lot more embodied here with this Empress energy. Because the Empress is all about like being comfortable in your own skin, about feeling fully embodied and able to, receive from the universe. And with the World card here, it's like how that ripples out, outward, but it starts with you. So yeah, because with this Page of Wands in reverse here, what it feels like to me is like there are people that really in your life have tried to put out your fire, and make you feel like when you expressed excitement for things, what do you want to do that for? Or, that doesn't feel practical. Just kind of like, for lack of a better word, like shitting on your dreams, and that's something that I feel like you're kind of like reckoning with and coming to terms with, and really making friends with yourself and learning how to love yourself, with this Two of Cups here, because it's like it starts with you. The Two of Cups can be relationships as well, with this coven energy, and these retrogrades that are going on in Mercury ruled signs. And, we're starting off October in Libra season. So it's like really learning to relate to other people in a new way through the relationship that you have with yourself is something that's coming through. And the obstacle, for you, the challenge for you is the Nine of Wands in reverse, which really speaks to like feeling so beat down and defeated by what other people say, and really internalizing those messages to the point that it makes you feel like, why do I even want to try? And that can be something where it's like, it really does dampen you. It's like, anytime that, you try to get going and you feel that spark, that Ace of Wands spark of like, yeah, I want to really get going and move towards this goal, something I feel passionate about, and, channel something, do something that I feel really good about. It feels like, hater energy, and this could be coming from you as well. And not, sometimes we internalize those messages that come from the outside, so much that we end up, treating ourselves the way that others treat us, thinking that we don't deserve any better. But you're moving towards Empress energy. And, with this potential outcome of the Chariot, it's like getting ready to move forward and feeling like you're almost ready to take the reins in your life to move forward, but still feeling a little, reluctant and unsure. So what I want to say to you, pile two, is like, it's okay if you're not ready yet, because with all this retrograde energy, it's like you don't really want to necessarily try to move too quickly through it. Now is the time for digestion, just like I said before, it's about reflection and digestion. With this Knight of Pentacles here, it really is, one day at a time, one step at a time. Don't try to like get in your chariot and, come out of the gate and set yourself up for, where you're really going to burn yourself out. So that's something that's really important to take note of for the place that you're at right now, because it's like you really want to feel like the actions that you take, like this, it's trying to come through. Like, you guys have really chatty guides. Holy crap. Like, yeah, it's like the guides that you guys have, they have a lot to say to you. So especially with this lunar eclipse, open the door to a higher dimension. Definitely check in with them, because they have been trying to communicate these messages to you for a while. So, if you have an intuitive message that comes through and you kind of are second guessing, like, is that me? Or, is that, something else? That's your guides trying to talk to you, because there's a lot coming through. But with this Empress, one thing that I'm really getting, especially with the Nine of Wands in reverse being your challenge, is that like if you try to push too hard, push too fast, to make things happen right now, because this is a time of digestion and really getting to back to a place where you feel fully embodied, that you will kind of set back your progress. Like, you'll feel less and less like an Empress. It's like you will feel like there's confirmation of all of the things that, all of these negative messages that, people have communicated to you in the past, or that, life has just thrown at you, and it's going to feel like, oh, I failed, or, yeah, they were right, but they're not, that you have everything that you need. You are gifted, and you're a selfless person who, you really have a big purpose to serve the collective. We all do. And if you feel like, why am I here? And I don't understand, like, it seems like everybody else, has this special purpose, and, I can't figure out what it is. Like, nobody is more or less special than you, is something that's definitely coming through. Like, you are a reflection of the divine, and you have a divine purpose. So it's all about slowing down to understand what that is, and really releasing those blockages that make you feel like, you know, you can't move forward. And then, when it's time, you'll know. That's something that's really coming through, especially because the Chariot is ruled by Cancer, and Cancer is ruled by the moon. That is very highly intuitive energy. Then what it says to me is that, feeling at home in yourself, because Cancer has a correlation with the fourth house of your roots and stability, and that's something that I remember saying at the beginning. Like, you'll know when it's time to move forward, intuitively, and you'll feel it in your body is as well with this Empress energy. But right now is all about, the connection that you have with yourself, and really feeling back into, what is it that lit you up as a child? What does it feel like to truly play in your energy? What brings you joy? And those are the things that are most important for you right now. That will really put you in a state where you feel more open and able to move forward, where this World card will be more flipped in the upright, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do now is pull some additional oracle cards and see if there are any more messages that want to come through. What other messages do we have for pile 2? What else do we have for pile 2? We go. Keepers of the earth. Didn't I just say you are not alone? Keepers of the earth, you're not alone. Ancient ancestors stand beside you. Yes, they are really trying to come through and make sure that you understand that you're being divinely guided, that you're not by yourself, and you don't have to do anything by yourself. You don't have to burn yourself out. You have nothing to prove too. That's something that's coming through. Like, I just heard it loud and clear. Like, if there's somebody that makes you feel like you always have to prove yourself, or if that's just something that, like, you've always felt, that you have to prove yourself to make to feel worthy of love and affection and attention, you don't have to. Like, you have the love of your ancestors and your guides, and, like, you don't have to do a damn thing but exist, to be worthy of love and care and attention. So that's coming through really strongly. Let's see. What else do we have for pile 2? Oh, there we go. All right. Mystery. Secrets and hidden meanings. Okay, so yeah, just like I was saying at the very beginning, like, I felt like, it's like you're searching for the answers and you don't even know what the questions are, but it's like your subconscious knows. Like, there are mysteries and secrets and hidden meanings in everything. And, like, what I'm hearing right now is, like, pay attention to the signs, because they're all around you. And, if there's something that you see that gets your attention, or, a certain repeating number, like, don't go looking for them. Like, you see 11:10 on the clock and you're waiting to see 11:11, like, that won't work. But, if there's a certain animal that comes across your path a lot, like, pay attention to what it is that you're thinking, or just certain things, because there might be hidden meanings in those things that your guides are trying to send you. So really be on alert. And especially, the energy in October, like, as we get closer and closer to Samhain on Halloween, like, the veil is getting thinner and it's easier to communicate with the other side. And we all have the ability to communicate with our guides. That some of that mystery, and the answers that you're searching for, it's not going to seem so confusing. Like, you'll be able to kind of decipher the meaning behind, some of the questions, or, what feels kind of almost out of reach. So let's see what else we have for you. All right. And we have, I consume only my fair share. And to me, what that says is just like not doing too much, doing just enough, not burning the candle at both ends, like this 9 of Wands, like, consuming only what you need to. And, this also to me really speaks to, not just consumption as like what you're putting in your body, but what are you putting into your mind, like as far as social media and, the movies that you're watching and, the sources, of information that you consume, to make sure that you're double checking them and that you're double checking with your intuition too, to see like, does this align with, what I realistically, know to be true? Because we're having a lot of oppositions from Neptune right now, and Neptune can also deal with deception, and if you're consuming a multitude of things, there's a possibility that some of those sources may not, be the best or the most reliable. So it's just something to be aware of with all of this, Mercury retrograde, Mars retrograde, and Gemini energy, like to be, extra aware of, and discerning. Let's see what else. Oh, it's way too much. What additional messages do we have for pile 2? Let's see. If the judgments and opinions of others did not matter, what would you be? Who would you be and what would you do? See, I was feeling that like you might be digesting a lot of messages from, outside sources that really don't matter, because at the end of the day, it matters what you think and how you feel. So, really consider that, pile 2. What would you do if, everybody else's opinions didn't matter, if it was only your own? Very important to consider, and then move accordingly to what matters to you. Nobody else can live your life but you. And at the end of the day, like, you have to, be answerable for your life. And nobody else can do that for you. And at the end of the day, people, are responsible for their own lives too. And any judgments and opinions that they have about you, and what you choose to do says more about them than it does ever about you. So, like I said, with this, I consume only my fair share. Consider the source of the information that you're getting. So if somebody is throwing, bullshit advice at you, really consider, like, how are they living? Are they happy with the choices that they've made? Because if they're not living, in alignment with their highest good, how are they going to be able to give you any information about how you're living? So that's something that's coming through as well. And there we go with the Gemini, I am connected. So yeah, you are connected as far as, your network circles, your guides and ancestors. Like, you really have an abundance of, helpers that are ready to, service you and help you. And Gemini energy, I really do relate that, especially being, a sign of communication, as reciprocal, that, you may have something really important to share as well in connection, that you can be there for someone else, and there might be something invaluable that you have to say and communicate as well, and to not censor yourself, because you may have the medicine that other people need. You may have the advice that someone else, needs to hear, and it wouldn't come from anyone else. It wouldn't sound the same coming from anyone else, because your particular perspective and experience, it doesn't look like anyone else's. So, that's really important. So now that we have done that, let me go ahead and get some chakra cards, and then we'll get into the yes/no questions. Whoa. Your guys like are blowing me up with these cards. Okay, let me try to shuffle again. All right. What chakra energy do we have for pile 2? Right. All right, connected again. All right, connection. This is heart chakra energy. So yes, keep your heart open right now, and don't cut yourself off. And look at that, psychic abilities. So you're very, very intuitive right now. So the messages that are coming through, and if you are questioning whether or not you're psychic, there is your confirmation. You're a psychic as hell. Pay attention to what comes to you through your crown chakra, your third eye chakra. This is more, I believe, third eye, if I'm correct, but just pay attention to the messages that you're getting. So I'm going to go ahead and you think of a question, and I'm going to do 3 piles, 1, 2, and 3. And, whatever number comes up, just go ahead and go with that for your yes or no question. And I'm going to pull 1 tarot card and 1 yes or no oracle card for each pile. So all right. Here we go. Pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. Tarot. Go. Pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. All right. Pile 1. Pile 2/1. Okay, so you got Beyond a Doubt and King of Swords. So if there's something that you were inquiring about, the King of Swords says that your mind is clear and you're able to really see the situation clearly and make an informed decision about it. Beyond a doubt, whatever it is, that you know the answer. So that's pile 1. Pile 2, let's see. You got Inquire with Spirit. And again, your psychic ability is on fire, and your ancestors, your spirit team is ready and, willing to step in. And you got the Devil. So, if there's something where it's like, it feels like, something's not right, or someone's being deceptive, shady, or your mind is playing tricks on you for any reason, check in with your guides and they will sort it out. So if you're kind of, inquiring about somebody that's on some, kind of fuckery, that's something that I would kind of keep your eyes and ears open and definitely check in with spirit about. So that's for you, pile 2. And last but not least, pile 3, you got The Opportunity is Approaching and the King of Pentacles. Okay, so this is all about, material security and, working towards something that will, better your life and last a long time and feed you. So if there's an opportunity that you were looking for or, you wanted to go after, it's approaching. So, with this Chariot in reverse Empress, kind of prepare yourself so that when the opportunity arises, you'll be ready to seize it. Okay, pile 2, that's all I'm seeing for your reading. Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope these messages brought you clarity and strength. If you'd like to see more of my videos, please consider subscribing to my channel. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if the messages resonated, and drop me a comment if you'd like. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye. Hello, pile 3, and welcome to your reading for October 2022. This is for the pile that picked the oracle card Ignition, Fire, and the Clear Quartz Heart. So before we put your oracle cards down, I just wanted to talk about what I was channeling while I was shuffling your cards. And while I was shuffling, an image came into my mind of someone running track, like literally sprinting and jumping hurdles. And what came into my mind, I heard endurance training. So this could be literally or metaphorically, that I feel like this is the group that has really been working on something and putting your real intense energy into something for quite a while. that you've been trying to bring to, fruition and, really make it real, is something that I'm hearing. And with this ignition energy, with this card, I'm not surprised, that I was seeing that, because ignition and fire, is all, it's a spark is what starts an engine, to get it moving. The element of fire is all about action. The suit of wands is all about creation. So it's like, I feel like a lot of this group, you've been really working on something. And some of you, I feel this real energy of justice work, or even just of learning how to speak your personal truth. But I'm getting that real fire energy of, like righteous anger is what I'm getting. But it's like, endurance. When I heard that, it's like, there's a need that's coming through from your spirit team to communicate this message that whatever it is that you've been working on, to continue to, keep that fire burning, but at a steady pace, not in a pace that's going to burn you out. Because this is something that is going to be a long journey. And this might be something that pertains to your life's work. So it's, there's an element here of being able to spread that fire out, so that it's not like a big whoosh and then it's gone and then you're burnt out, and then you're not able to continue. That's definitely coming through for some of you. And then for others of you, it's like, you've already been on this journey for so long that you might be feeling that sense of burnout right now. And it's like there's a need for, a kind of like a slowdown, of this ignition, where maybe over the summer and, since Jupiter has gone into Aries, that now that it's retrograde and it's about to dip back into Pisces, there's a need to kind of like rest and recharge your fire, because once Jupiter is in a Mars ruled sign, it's like, Jupiter expands that energy of the sign that it's in, and it's like, we're ready to go and, gearing up and really ramping up our energy, but we may not realize how much energy that we're expending that we're not putting back into ourselves. So that's something that's coming through, and that, is a big message for it. Definitely the collective, but that's coming through strongly for you, pile 3. That like, this is my group of like people who champion causes and that really fight for the underdog, like root for the underdog. That's something that is coming through too. That you want to be able to endure, that this is more of a marathon than a sprint. Because the feeling that I was getting when I saw, that sprinter was just, how long can I keep doing this? Like I can't jump hurdles over this whole track, so it's like trying to space that out and more, do some cross country running, to spread out, being able to space out that, energy where you can kind of do some jogging and then sprint, so there's a little bit of needing to, space out like and temper that flame so that when you need those bursts of energy, they're there for you to use, if that makes sense. So let's go ahead and put that to the side. And I have 2 tarot cards, 1 major arcana card and 1 court card to show the major theme that's showing up for you and the energy that you're embodying. So let's go ahead and look at those. So we have the Hanged One. Okay, well, that's kind of, I can see why I was getting that, endurance training message, and the King of Wands in reverse. Yeah, so it's like that fire. The King of Wands is, a champion and a leader and someone who really, leads by example. And, that's something that, I was getting that, Leo energy, that Aries energy, and, that Sagittarian energy of like, wanting to really affect change on a global scale. But there's a need to kind of pause and not be on the go so much. This is kind of like, you know, I don't want to say like your guides or the universe is punishing you. Let me make sure the cards are in frame. But it's almost like a universal timeout, you know, like not in a bad way, but it's almost like you won't put baby in a corner, so your guides are doing it for you. That's something that I'm hearing. And, you know, it's from a place of love. It's like, slow down, baby. Like, you know, you'll see from a different perspective if you just allow yourself to hang out and pause for a little bit. That this is actually serving you a little bit, that you're not stuck. If you give yourself a break, you're not letting anybody down. That's something that I hear, because you care a lot. That's coming through really strongly. It's like almost like you feel like if you put your plans on pause, or if you stop moving, that everything is going to fall apart, or, you know, that the people that you're meant to help, like, you know, how are things going to get done without me? When it's like, the message is they need you whole, you know, and you can't really show up as your full self if you're so burnt out that you're snapping, or, you know, you feel really short with people, you know, and you're undernourished and you haven't been getting good sleep. You know, it's burning the candle at both ends. Yeah, like that endurance training was coming through. Yeah, and you, in order to run a marathon, you know, and this life is a marathon, it's not a sprint. We need to be able to, you know, look at the long term of like, you know, what are the ways that I'm feeding myself in order to feed the cause that I'm serving? Or, you know, like, what is the goal, you know, that I am trying to reach? And in what ways am I honoring what it is that I need in order, you know, to do the things that I want to do? Because you may not get where you want to be if you're not taking the time to care for yourself. And something else that just came through that I heard was like, self-care is not a reward. It's not something that you have to earn. So if you feel that way, like, you know, you have to do something to earn a nap, or you have to do something to, you know, earn time to sit down and take a rest. This hanged one energy is flipping you around to kind of change that perspective for you, which is so important. That rest in itself is a form of resistance. So if you're doing resistance work, and, you know, I'm a really big fan of the Nap Ministry. If you've never seen their work on Twitter and Instagram, and it's life-changing, of, you know, the ways that in the capitalist system and, you know, patriarchy and, you know, all of the things that we have been trained and kind of indoctrinated into, that we've been taught that rest is not something that is available or deserved by everyone, you know, or that your time, you know, isn't valuable if you're not working, you know, if you're not a cog in the machine that's turning it forward. And this is a time for you to really consider the ways that you're not maybe honoring yourself and your needs in the way that you need to. Like, maybe, you know, you've absorb some of those messages in the way that, like, you move throughout the world. And if you're doing any kind of service work, or you're in the helping professions, because this is coming through, that restorative care for yourself, if you need to live that in order to really be able to service your clients and, you know, embody that message, not just give it out because it might ring a little bit hollow, is something that I'm hearing, especially with the King of Wands in reverse. It's like, you know, embodying what it is, you know, practicing what you preach. So, you know, if you're telling your clients or the people that you work with, you know, that it's important to rest and nourish yourself, and you're not doing that, it's going to show up energetically for you. And that may not be, you know, the message that you're saying with your mouth, but, you know, your energy is screaming. You're not giving yourself the tending that you need to. And, you know, so it's really important that came through. So let's go ahead and look at your oracle cards. I'm going to go ahead and just lay them out, and then we'll look at them. Okay. And you got the Lady of the Gift, generosity, receiving, withholding, trust. Okay, and you got two of these. So the Wildling Trying to make sure they all are in frame. Kali, step into the unknown. Don't be afraid. Okay. Let's see what else we got. Full moon in Scorpio. Breathe through the tension. Okay, yeah, these are making a whole lot of sense to me. And lastly, wholeness. Wholeness. Didn't I just say? You need to be whole as well. Okay, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Because with the Lady of the Gift, like I said, like it feels like you are a champion, somebody who is of service, somebody who has a really, you're very generous. And with this receiving, withholding, those are very dual in nature. In this card 20, that relates to judgment in the major arcana, which is all about really assessing, what it is that we do and whether or not it's working for us. So, the generosity that we give to others, are we pouring that into ourselves? Are you giving the same gifts to yourself that you give to other people? Because if you're withholding from yourself, that's really important to consider why it is that you feel like other people deserve care and you don't. So that can be a real challenge, but the gift of this hangman time for you, this hanged one time, is coming back to yourself and understanding, that it might feel new and different and scary. And I know for myself and, for a lot of people that I've gotten to know over the past few years and made friends with that are disabled, that it can feel really triggering when you're not used to getting your needs met to prioritize your self-care. And that's something that like I feel really strongly for this group is like really learning how to be generous with yourself and with this trust. Trusting your own body and energetically trusting that your body is sending you signals that you need to really pay attention to and not ignore. Like if it's screaming at you to slow down and take some rest, that you really need to rest. That and trust can be, really hard to trust ourselves when we've been taught that, our needs aren't to be valued or, that other people's opinions of what we do are more important than our own. So it's all about trusting yourself and trusting your perceptions, and trusting your ability to know that even if you take a pause, that you'll be able to start again, because sometimes like we feel like if we lose momentum, that we won't be able to, restart that. That's something that I'm feeling, especially with this wildling card, is like really getting in touch with, the parts of you that are wild, because you got King of Wands here. That energy is like, deep within you, that wants to express itself outwardly. But making friends with, the parts of yourself that are untamed, untamed by other people's opinion and trusting, the wild parts of yourself, your instinctual nature is really, really important. So that definitely is coming through. And with Kali, step into the unknown. Don't be afraid. It's like not living in fear that like you won't have your needs met with this trust. Like, there might be this feeling of contraction around your like feeling of deservingness. And Kali here, it's really interesting that she showed up out of this deck because, she is the dark feminine of the goddesses. She is one of the goddesses of like death and rebirth. So there's a lot of that energy where I was feeling like, this group was my champions, of, the underdog and, the people that, are tossed aside, in society, that, you really have that, a strong sense of justice inside of you that is really willing to go above and beyond for other people, and really go out on a limb for other people because you care so much. And it's not even something that you had to cultivate. This is, it's natural to you. This is something that like you were, you've done all your life is something that I really feel. And there can be some tension, when you have a lot of fiery energy. And I see this full moon in Scorpio card come up, and we are about to, not this month in October, but next month, have a full moon in Scorpio that aligns with the nodes, because the north node is in Taurus and the south node is in Scorpio right now. So there's going to be an eclipse, and I think it aligns with Pluto, and that Plutonian energy really does really reflect the energy of Kali. And just like I said with this 20, the Judgment card is ruled by Pluto. So it is really a big transformational time for you to really, release some of that tension and, with this wholeness, really integrate, and come into wholeness within yourself, like really, honor yourself and your needs. That's something that's really important. So, this card, we have Aquarius, and this is a water, card. So, Saturn is currently transiting Aquarius, and that's another, energy where it can be really, challenging, because Aquarius is the sign of the collective. And being that champion, where, Saturn is all about restriction. And, since Saturn has been in Aquarius, we've been in lockdown for COVID. I mean, I know a lot of people are kind of like done with it, but the pandemic is not done with us. But there's been a lot of social distancing, social isolation, feeling, this feeling of separateness and, feeling apart from one another, is something that's coming through. But it's like there's a period where, like, you're being called to take a pause, to come into wholeness with yourself. And next year in March, I believe in 2023, Saturn is going to go into Pisces, and there's going to be a whole different vibe. Pluto will be in Aquarius, and the world will look different. Energetically, it's going to feel very different. I mean, it may not look different right away, but it's like, that those Pluto transits are really, really long. And I feel like this Saturn transit has almost been like a precursor, like prepping us for this dip of Pluto into Aquarius before it retrogrades back into Capricorn. But that's a lot of astrology. But it's like, there is a sense of tension in the collective. Like, there was another pile that I filmed before this, and I was talking about the fact that the air, feels very highly charged right now. And you might be feeling really tense. And that's why, the universe and your guides and your higher self and your ancestors are kind of like leaning into giving you sort of like this time out to recharge your batteries, and to come into a sense of wholeness, because, yeah, it's an endurance kind of thing for you. So let me go ahead and get your tarot cards and see what else is showing up for you. So let's go ahead. What do we have for pile 3? What tarot messages do we have for pile 3? Back of the deck, the Sun. Okay, so like, yeah, it's very similar energy to the King of Wands. Like, you're meant to really shine in the world and shine your light, that's fire energy. But there's a need to really take time to, recharge your batteries so that, you can show up fully embodied. And here we have the Page of Wands. And this showed up in the reverse for another pile. I'm not going to say which one, but if you were called intuitively to a different pile, you may want to check out and see, if there's a message for you. And look at that, Judgment in reverse, 6 of Swords in reverse, 5 of Pentacles, and King of Swords in reverse. Okay. Yeah. Let me just kind of feel into this for a minute. Yeah, it's like right now, like there's a need for you to drop down into your root and really look at, reevaluate, like, what you're passionate about, and the reasons that you're passionate about it, because it is your divine purpose. It's why you are here. And we all have a purpose, for why we're here at this time. And for me, it's like the next step for you with this Page of Wands, Judgment in reverse. It's like really getting back to, doing some, reflecting on, some of the previous years, like your younger years, of like what truly made you happy. What made you happy. Not considering, like taking everybody out of the equation, like what truly brought you joy. Because with this Judgment in reverse, I feel that there has been a period for you where maybe like you have taken a lot of other people's opinions into account and moved, according to that. And, like with this trust, trusting trusting other people's judgment more than you trust yourself. But with this Wildling and the Page of Wands, it's almost like, a review of, when you were a child, the ways that you felt, the feelings that came through, the intuitive, instinctual messages and signals from your body, the wildling, the wild instinctual part of yourself, before any messages, could truly be imprinted on your consciousness. Sorry, let me make sure these are in frame. Like, what are the things that like you knew to be true before you took in, consideration the thoughts and opinions of others? And that's something that you really need to get back to. That will bring you into a sense of wholeness, like seeing things from a new perspective, of like really shaking off, other people's like judgments of you or the way that you do things, because that's really not meant to be your way. If there's something, that comes to you instinctually, like a thought of like, oh, I want to do this today, or my body needs this kind of movement, or my body needs rest, or I really think that going for a walk, or a hike, or doing some meditation, whatever that looks like for you. It can, meditation looks different for all of us. That your body instinctually knows what you need. And there's an element of play too that's coming through, where there are things that you might be interested in that other people have made you feel like, oh, that's kind of silly. That's something that I'm hearing as well, where it's like you kind of like judge yourself based on like how other people see what you're interested in. Like if you like anime, or if you're into tarot, and you have cards, or you're interested in intuitive work but you feel like you're in the broom closet. There's so many ways that can show up. Or if I'm also getting the feeling, of some of you, this won't apply to everybody, but like there's sort of a coming out moment for some of the people in this group. And coming out can mean different things. It could be literally coming out as queer or trans, or, coming out and disclosing some sort of disability, or, that you're neurodivergent, that you think differently, because I'm getting that with, the Six of Swords, Five of Pentacles, that, there's some kind of thing that you've wanted to communicate or express, or that you do things differently. And with the King of Swords, that you see things in a different way. And that doesn't make it wrong or bad. with the King of Swords in the reverse. I really see this as, having a unique perspective on things, that people may not see it the way that you do. But that doesn't mean that your perception is wrong. It's all about trusting yourself and the instinctual, perceptions that you have, and not letting other people cloud your judgment, or making you feel, isolated, like, you're different, and, that you don't deserve to have community. That's coming through. And I know that there's a lot of different messages coming through. So this is going to look differently for everyone in this group, but this is really a big time for you to consider, the ways that you want to show up in the world that feel authentic and right and true to you, because you have a lot to share with the world. And, you are, with the Six of Swords in the reverse, somebody who can really be a champion for other people, of making sure that, people get the help that they need, and that you are there as a support and a helper. And whether that's with your actions or your words, you have a unique contribution to society that, really helps the collective, and that helps people, individually in your environment. But, it's all about coming back to a state of wholeness and comfort in yourself, before you can do that, or, taking small steps, to come into that space of, generosity for yourself, so that it can ripple outward, and you can do that work in the way that you want to, that you can show up whole and fully embodied. And, that fire is lit from within, in a way that it was, because we all come into this world, a blank slate. And, we kind of, like, through our experiences, sometimes, there are people that add to our bank, and there are some people that subtract from it. And, it's like filling up your bank, and also allowing, only people in your orbit, that add to it as well, that don't make you feel alone and like you have no support with this Five of Pentacles, because this is showing up as a strength for you. So to me, this, this is a card of struggle, and a feeling like you don't have enough, and feeling isolated. And to me, what this really feels like is like digesting those experiences where you have felt this way, and really coming into and integrating this, these lessons, or, those feelings that you've had, um, because you've been there and you've lived it. It's not something that you've read out of a book that, you can then go on and share, and, be that support, be that light for other people who are going through their Five of Pentacles moments. That this is a resource for you. Not saying that it happened for a reason, because I don't believe that, bad things happen, and that is just the nature of the world. But I don't think that anybody, like, has bad things happen to them for a reason, because they deserve it. It's just saying that, the things that do happen on your path, like, we take the lessons from it with judgment. We take the lessons, and what we do with it is what's important, is what's coming through. And that's what makes your perspective so unique, Pile 3, is that, you've lived your journey. Like, nobody has walked in your shoes, and sorry, there's like a lot of messages coming through right now, but it's like, you don't necessarily have to walk in someone else's shoes to have empathy for them, but understanding and coming from a place of, like, having had struggle, I think is easier to help people who are struggling, if that makes sense. Because, if you have lived in an ivory tower, always had your needs met, and, you never have to worry about money, those things, like, it can kind of create a disconnect where, if you're coming from a place of privilege, you don't understand the ways in which, the intersections of oppression can really keep folks down. But it's like, you have that, you have those experiences. And this hangman energy is really allowing you to integrate so that you can, you know, step into this next phase of your life where you're truly of service in a way that's authentic and genuine, and you don't feel like you have to be ashamed of parts of your story, you know, or who you are, so that, you know, you serve from a place of, you know, you're who you genuinely, you know, are, if that makes sense. So yeah, that is definitely like what's coming through right now. And with the nodes, you know, in Taurus and Scorpio, Taurus, you know, is the North Node is where we're moving towards as a collective. And Taurus is all about material comfort and security and, you know, wanting to be well resourced, where Scorpio and the South Node is all about purging, you know, purging trauma, purging, you know, those things that have really caused us pain. You know, so this is a big time of processing is what I see for you. And, you know, really take time, you know, to journal if you can, you know, around those themes that come up, because when the full moon in Scorpio happens, I feel like that's going to be a really big transformational time for you, pile 3. So like really, really pay attention to that. So let's go ahead and get some more oracle cards. And then after that, I'm going to do 3 piles of yes or no questions. So if you want to go ahead and think of any questions that you want a yes or no answer to, we'll do that before we close out the reading. So let's get some more oracle messages for pile 3. What oracle messages do we have for pile 3? Okay. Oh, yep, there we go. Repeating message from the Hanged One, deep replenishment, retreat, rest, be held. So yeah, that's all about, you know, allowing yourself to, you know, be replenished and, you know, really trusting yourself, you know, and trusting that, you know, you deserve, you know, to be held, you know, by your guides, by the universe, that you deserve to be, you know, resourced and cared for, that you deserve care, you know, because with this 5 of Pentacles here, you haven't always received the love and tending, you know, that you've needed, pile 3. And this is a time to really, you know, sink into that, you know, and feel into that. So let's see what other oracle messages we have for pile 3. Oh, okay. And we got I care for the earth. Yes. So that's what I was saying. Like some of you are like big environmental workers, like climate justice. You know, I feel like that. You know, that some of you have a really big mission that like deals with being a champion, you know, for other people and showing up for other people. But, you know, it starts with, you know, showing up for yourself. And let me see if I feel like there's one more in here for you. What messages do we have for pile 3? Okay. And okay, I regard all altars with respect, and your body is an altar, is a temple, you know, and that's really respecting your, you know, your temple and regarding it as sacred to me. So yeah, that's really, really important. So let's see what else we have for pile 3. What other oracle messages want to come through? Messages to there for pile 3. You got trust again. Trust and keep trusting. You are taken care of. Okay, so yes, your guides are really like coming through, trying to tell you that, you know, they're also, you know, here trying to take care of you, and that you can trust that, you know, you're not alone. Let's see what else we have for you. Woo! Sorry. see, we got, okay, find something to examine closely and meditate on its intricacy and beauty. Yeah, and so like I was talking about with, meditation, that can be a meditation in its own, like, mindfulness in itself, like, finding the beauty in something, like really examining and looking at something and looking at the details and, what makes something beautiful, like a flower, like really looking up close at something and, taking time to really slow down and process, that can be really mindful. If you're not somebody who feels particularly drawn to traditional meditation where you're, closing your eyes and trying to quiet your mind, like there are many other ways that you can do that. It doesn't just have to be one thing. It can be, cooking and, the intricacy and beauty of, the ingredients that go into your food and, feeling the textures and the tastes and, or feeling sensations that you have on your skin of, clothes or a blanket, really getting in touch with your senses as a way to ground yourself is something that's coming through. Let's see what other messages we have for pile 3. What other oracle messages? Okay. And we have I am knowledge, Sagittarius. So this is more fire energy. So that you know, and you know that you know. It's almost like your subconscious is telling you, like you can trust the instinct, your instincts, of the things that you know to be true, and that if you aren't sure of the answers, that you know how to seek them out is something else that's coming through. So yeah, that's important to know that you can trust yourself, pile 3. So if anyone's ever made you feel unsure, then that's confirmation for you that, your perception is right. Let's see. Oh, fell on the floor. Oh, there's your card. Okay, universal energy. So yeah, this is, source energy that, is available to you right now. And especially with this wholeness, it's like, pay attention, especially this is like crown chakra colors. And, with this Sagittarius, I find, corresponds a lot with the crown chakra. Like pay attention to what information like comes to you through your crown, and you might want to do some like crown chakra meditations or listen to crown chakra music or frequencies, but there's this energy is kind of like universal, like I was saying, like with the nodes. The nodes are related to fate, and it's kind of like bringing you into alignment right now of where you're meant to be. Let's see what else we have for pile 3. Limitless. All right. Yeah. And along with that, universal energy, like, yeah, the possibilities for you right now are limitless. Like, there is no end with fire, this fire energy of what you can do and be and perceive. That really the only thing that can stop you right now is you. And, the perceptions that you have of what it is that you can do. But it's really all about coming back to a place where, you trust yourself and, also, considering your circle as well. The people that pour into you is something that's coming through right now. That the people that pour into your cup, continue to surround yourself with those people. Let's get one more oracle. What else do we have? Pile 3. Messages do we have for pile 3? Oh, no. Okay. Sorry, no, that was loud. Okay, and we got don't stop. A miracle is around the corner. So yeah, what I'm getting is like, don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on yourself. that, you know, big things can happen, like especially with this limitless and universal energy, like fate is really big at play for you right now. You know, and that's one thing that I was getting right now, like with this pause, you know, in the King of Wands in reverse, it's like you don't have to be afraid that if you take a pause, that it's going to halt you. Like this, don't stop. Like you'll be able to get up and go when you need to, you know, but rest when you need to. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to do 3 piles, 1, 2, and 3 of a yes or no oracle and a tarot card. So go ahead and think of a question that you'd like answered, and a number that you would like pile 3. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So this is pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. And let's get a tarot card for each pile. Okay. And we have pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at pile 1, your yes or no question. And we got shed and release. So again, with this breathe through the tension and Scorpio energy, there's some shedding and releasing, and Page of Swords. So, you know, there might be a little bit of, you know, pondering, you know, that you need to do, or research, looking into things and seeing also what it is that you can let go of to bring you closer to what it is that you're after. Is what I'm getting for pile 1. So shed and release, and then it's a yes. Right now, what I'm feeling is maybe. And then, you know, once you get to that place, I feel like it's a yes. So pile 2, we got a sign of success. So that's a definite yes for whatever it is that you're thinking of. And we got the Knight of Swords. Okay, so we got a lot of swords cards here. So yeah, the Knight of Swords is all about taking action and really speaking your truth, saying what it is that you want to say. And this is a sign of success. So if there's something that you want to say or do, that's a green light from your guides in the universe. And last but not least, we got pile 3. You're veering off path. So this feels like a no to me. And it says 9 of Pentacles. So it feels like whatever it is that you're asking about is a no, because it's taking you further away from yourself and what you want to build for yourself. So really consider whether or not it is what you want. But that is a no. So that is your yes or no. Okay, pile 3, that is all I am seeing for your reading. Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope these messages brought you clarity and strength. If you'd like to see more of my videos, please consider subscribing to my channel. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if the messages resonated, and drop me a comment if you'd like. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye pile 3. Take care.